And we talked about Case Keenum. So the question now, where is he? Well, when free agency officially opens tomorrow, Vikings quarterback Case Keenum, and let me say this, former Vikings quarterback Case Keenum, he intends to sign with the Denver Broncos. Effectively, we thought he was sort of the first domino to fall in the race to secure a franchise quarterback. We've seen a number of those chips fall into place today. Case Keenum posted the second best total QBR of any quarterback in the league last year. He was productive, but just as important was how averse to risk he was. He threw 22 touchdowns and only 7 picks, while Denver quarterbacks threw over 3 times as many interceptions as did Keenum last season. They do not want to turn over the football. He did not do that. Adam, take us through how this move occurred prior to the Kirk Cousins news.
Listen, I think Denver did not have a real sense that it was going to be in on Kirk Cousins, and I don't know that Denver wanted to be in on Kirk Cousins at the price it was getting to. So when there are questions about that and you're evaluating what's the best value for our team and what's the best fit for our team, the Broncos made a decision somewhere in there that before Kirk Cousins even comes off the board, we're going to go pursue Case Keenum, who their former head coach Gary Kubiak and their current front office person Gary Kubiak knows well from his time together in Houston. And Kubiak has tracked his career. And a couple of years ago, when Keenum was in L.A., and the Broncos had some quarterback questions at that time, the Broncos explored a potential trade for Keenum at that time. So they've been watching him from afar, up close, and wanted to move, which they also believe will give them flexibility going into the draft. I don't think that they believe that they're locked in on a quarterback. If the right quarterback is there, great. They'll take him. If not, they'll take another great player. And if not, they're open to moving back. So there are a lot of different things that the Broncos can do, but they believe that before this game of quarterback musical chair started, they wanted to get their chair and sit down and take a seat and be out of the game.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Lewis. And to your point, Kirk Cousins is fine at a price. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's crazy for certain teams to say, hey, it's getting, this is too rich for our blood for the player we might be getting.
Yeah, look, I'm an economics major, okay? So I'm all about the whole concept of surplus value, your performance value relative to your cost. And I think Case Keenum represents that in the Broncos' favor tremendously. And look, all the things that add up to him being a good fit for this football team on the football field, you'll see it in some of these highlights right here. These are things that the Denver Broncos quarterbacks could not do last year. The Denver Broncos quarterbacks could not create in the red zone, outside the pocket, and throw the ball with efficiency. You didn't see any quarterbacks there being able to keep their eyes down the field, roll left, get their shoulders square, and just drop rainbows in here like he did last year here to Adam Thielen. And I think the number one thing, under pressure when it mattered the most, Case Keenum, I thought last year, as far as navigating the pocket, again, and just being efficient with dealing the football, his statistics supported what you saw. There was no illusion here. And the poise that he showed, you're seeing this is going to take a tremendous shot, and he does not flinch. Passer rating against the blitz, passer rating against 5 or more rushers, passer rating in the red zone, again, over and over again. All the things that the Broncos struggled with last year, I think they filled and they addressed all those positions at a great value with this player. And having that fit with Gary Kubiak, having him know him, the offense that they're going to run, it's going to look exactly like the kinds of things Case did in Minnesota this year. I think these are the kind of things that set you up in free agency for success. I think it's a home run for them, quite honestly.
I happen to 100% agree with you, but I will say this. The counter-argument, if you wanted to play devil's advocate, is, will the real Case Keenum stand up, Bill? Which Case Keenum are we getting? Would you have any concern if you were Denver?
I don't have any concern as long as you recognize that in the offense there are certain things he can't do. He throws rainbows because he's not able to drive it 40 or 50 yards on a line. He's found a way to compensate. That's what he's done his whole career, is find a way to compensate for the God-given gifts that he doesn't have. He uses his head, he uses his heart, he uses his guts, and he becomes a winning quarterback. Those numbers are not a lie. We did 4 Viking games, I believe, last year on ESPN radio. Every single one of them, he performed outstandingly. So that's not a mirage. That's not a one-year wonder. Over 16 games in the NFL, 18 games actually, you got to perform, and he did. So I don't have any problem with that. The big question for me is this a bridge contract or is this a commitment contract? If it's a bridge contract, then the Broncos might be in the market for a quarterback in the draft. If it's a commitment contract, then for sure he's the man.
Right. Jojo?
I just think it's interesting because you were saying, you don't think that it's a question there, but Mike Zimmer actually was the one at the Combine who said that Case Keenum,
Yes,
you weren't sure if it's the one from last year or the one from the year before with the Rams. But, I mean, obviously we talked about it, performed a lot under pressure, but the lasting memory is also how they did in the NFC Championship game. And I remember talking to a Broncos source who said that almost really glad that the 3-quarterback circus fell apart and exposed things, because he said that we really needed to address it and be honest about the situation. And when you have 3 quarterbacks like Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler, and Trevor Siemian with a combined QBR of 32, which is the 3rd worst in the league, and you have 3 quarterbacks, it means you have none. So we'll see if this situation addresses what they need to do at the position.
What's interesting about that comment is this. Okay, in a short sample size, are we getting last year's Case Keenum, or are we getting the one previous years? There's a sample size that says this, that says Kirk Cousins struggles in certain situations. It struggles in high-pressure situations. That's not just 1 year. It's been sustained. So what are you getting there? So you're paying for something that's been proven that hasn't been addressed yet. So that's like the flip side to that, because, that argument, I love Mike Zimmer and respect the heck out of him. It's just interesting to hear him keep saying that, and and then on the flip side, it's almost like, well, everything's going to be great for Kirk, and he's not going to struggle in the red area. He's not going to have a passer rating below 80 in the red area anymore because he's with us now. All of a sudden, everything's fixed now.
But you know what is the one that you're with? Yeah, I'm sorry.
For a much higher price.
And it's the one that you're with that knows you the best, because even Doug Williams made the comment real quick that when Kirk Cousins was leaving, he said something like, we watched the opportunities that we didn't take advantage of, not the yardage. And it's the same thing, with the other quarterback we were just talking about in Case Keenum. They feel like they know certain shortcomings that he has as well.
That may be true, but the bottom line is you can only judge on how a player performs. And Case Keenum last year performed twice as good, some would argue 3 times as well as Kirk Cousins. And that's just a fact.
And yet they wouldn't commit to him as a starting quarterback.
They wouldn't.
No.
It's interesting.
And it was clear. It was clear they weren't going to commit to him, really, from the whole entire second half of the season.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
They declined to commit to him physically or verbally, and then even financially after the season.
All right. So we will
that
let
doesn't make Kirk Cousins better. It just makes him richer.
It doesn't.
He'll be all right with that.
We will let that be the final word for now. But as you can imagine, there's much more on this. And if you can have this dialogue here, imagine what's going on around the league.